Okay.
Do 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 science. Do 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 science. Do 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 science. Do 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 science. Do 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 science. Do 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 science. You're done?
Done. Hey guys, this is back with physical science. I am going to be doing your stuff for April 7th. So just to have a look at what I'm looking at, this is your calendar for physical science. I'm going to be going over the different types of simple machines. Basically just going to be making a bunch of drawings. The worksheet that you guys should be following along with looks like this. This should be shared with you on Google. And because you are drawing things, you're going to have to print this out. Or if you want to just put it in a piece of notebook paper and draw, that's fine. But I will want to see your drawing of this. I guess I would take, if you wanted, to just Google what these are and copy and paste an image in and share with me the electronic file. That would be fine too. But I don't think a word definition of these really does justice. I think you'll learn a lot more about what these different types of simple machines are by drawing them or having some sort of visual. So I'm not going to get into definitions. Hopefully it'll be pretty self-explanatory once you see the images. So to just give you an idea here, what we've got. All right, so what we've got is, how do I want to do this? I want to go here. Everyone can see my notes. Perfect. So our first one is wheel and axle. Wheel and axle should be pretty self-explanatory. All I'm going to draw here is, if I had, I don't know, this is a tire. Maybe it doesn't quite. But the point is there's going to be something out of the back piece here. And maybe you have another one on the other side. This would show you, this is the wheel part and the axle part. What's going on is that the wheel is going to be able to move. So if you think back to our balloon cars were a perfect example of this. You guys had, you put the axle through your balloon car and then you attached your wheels on either side. This allowed us to overcome different types of friction and allowed us to apply some rolling friction. So that's one way that this simple machine is used. But that would be a part of it, is just the wheel and axle. Our next ones are levers. There are 3 different classes of lever. Just to make things simple, I'm going to draw these actually twice. I'm going to draw the diagram version and then I'll also draw an example and try and label that for you. The diagram version of a first class lever is going to have kind of this teeter-totter shape and a fulcrum in the center. This is the only class lever that has that pivot point or that fulcrum in the middle. And then you've got your effort and your load on either side. You could switch these and it would still be considered a first class lever, but the idea is that if I push down, my load goes up. Or if I were to switch my effort and put it on this side and push down over here, my load could then do the opposite on that side. So that's the diagram look to a first class lever. An example of this, and it might be kind of harder to draw, so don't worry about it on yours if you don't want to do this. I want to draw a light switch, and I wanted to look at one. But essentially it's just going to have this, maybe that's a light switch, a little piece to it. You can have my screws in there. That's nice. That's nice. So this will be my pivot point in the center of the switch. And if I apply effort either down here, it's going to flick up. Or if I apply effort down, it will flick down. So that would be an example of our first class levers. Second class lever, our fulcrum or our pivot point is going to be on the end. So it's no longer in the center like our first class. It's been pushed over to the side. And here our effort is on the opposite end and our load is in the center. Get that larger there. And so an example of this, see how my drawing skills are. You guys know how good they are. Is a wheelbarrow. So if you think of a wheelbarrow, you've got your pivot point or your tire up front, and then that attaches to some sort of bucket. That's my bucket. That's cool. And then you've got your handles here. It might not be the perfect wheelbarrow, but I sure tried. And so as you can see, your effort piece, this is where you'd put your hands. This is where you would pull up. This is where the fulcrum is, or where your pivot point would be. And this is how you would move around. And then you would obviously have, your pile of sticks or whatever it is you want to be carrying around in your wheelbarrow. And that would be your load in the center. Then you get into your third class levers, and your fulcrum is still on the end. However, this time, instead of your effort being on the end, you want your effort in the center. So that could be a little confusing. I'll explain. But your load is going to go on the opposite end. So again, all that changed here is that our effort and load switched positions. So that's the diagram setup. The example of this would be a hammer. I gotta draw a hammer. Okay, so with my hammer, how do I want to draw this? If I have an upside down hammer going on here, if I were to grab this, my pivot point is going to be the head of the hammer. And I don't want to hold my hammer at the very end here. I want to grab somewhere in the center, or not center, but a little ways back. If you grab at the very end, it's just not going to be an effective piece. But the idea here is that you have your load at the end and your pivot point. I feel like I explained the head part backwards. Give me a second here. All right, so depending on how you use your hammer, the head is either going to be your pivot point if you were to be, say, pulling out a nail with the head of the hammer, or if you're hammering in a nail, your pivot point is actually back here. It's an extension of your arm. So sorry about the confusion on that. But again, the third class, you have your pivot point on the end, your effort is in the center, and then your load is on the opposite end there. Moving on to the wedge. Wedge and incline plane, I always goof up, so I'm going to actually do both of those together right now. A wedge is going to come to a point. It's going to be something that has that pointed piece there, whereas an incline plane, I'm just going to write right on here, think of it as a ramp. It's something that you're going to move up or down. Sorry, that got a little sloppy there. But a ramp does not have both ends coming to a point. If you can see, it's parallel with the ground at some point. So think of it as a ramp. It doesn't have to be that large, but incline plane, think ramp. Wedge is going to be something like the blade of an axe. I know that maybe sound a little crazy, but if you look at the blade of an axe, and I'm thinking of how I can draw this. Oh boy, my drawing skills. All right, I had to do a little bit of thinking here, but I've got two different angles of it. So this would be the axe laying down, and you can't really see, but this edge here would be tapered down until you get to that point. So it is a wedge, and what's going to happen is when you put force on this, so if you were to swing the axe, that wedge is going to start to split things apart. So it's being driven down, and as it drives down into a chunk of wood, say, that wood is going to start to break apart. So hopefully that axe, you get the perspective there. Then we have a pulley. A pulley system is they can be complex, they can be simple. I'm just going to draw one. Maybe you guys have a really cool pulley system in like a tree house or something. So if you're up in your tree house and you ask your mom to throw a sandwich in the basket for you, and you can pull, you know what I'm talking about? That's what I'm going to try and draw here. So let's say I'm running out of space. if I was up in my treehouse, here's my treehouse, yay. And I've got this nice branch that comes out here. I hope you guys appreciate this. And on here, I wouldn't actually even need anything. It could just act as a pulley if I were to put a rope over that. I could have, say, my little basket for my lunch to go inside, and if I were inside my treehouse over here, I could pull on this string, and as I pull down, or the rope, that would make my basket go up. And so in this example, my tree branch is acting as a pulley with the help of the rope. Our last one here, because we already talked about inclined plane, sorry, it's getting a little crowded, is a screw. And for this one, I'm just going to draw a screw as if you were working on some sort of project. The idea here, how do I want to do that, is that a screw has an inclined plane and it has this piece wrapped around it. So it has the inclined plane wrapped around a cylinder. That cylinder can be tapered to help drive that in further, but that is basic definition of a screw there. So hopefully after you know these 6 pieces, I don't know how much I can zoom out. You had some other questions on this sheet. Let me pull up what you guys were doing. So I ask you to draw everything. And then I ask you to give me an example. So if you just copied down what I was doing, you could write out what your example was in case your drawings weren't that great, like mine. Just label what they were. And then if you go further down here, I'm asking you to start drawing compound machines. Now, I just told you that these were the 6 different pieces that make up that are the different types of simple machines. A compound machine is any machine that combines these. And it doesn't have to be different things. You could have 2 inclined planes, could be a compound machine. You could have 2 sets of pulleys, could be a compound machine. The more complex ones will obviously have all sorts of different types. But I just want you to think of 3 different examples of compound machines and do your best at labeling them. So that's what that space is there. Then I ask you about mechanical advantage and efficiency. We will be getting into that. I usually have you look that up in your books. I guess I can have you guys look that up online. So try and just find a definition of these and how to calculate these. I'll be posting an answer key on how to do that, and I'll also be posting a video about how to calculate these in the future. So for now, just look up a definition. Like I said, I usually have you guys hop in, look in your books at this point. But Google that, see what you can find, and we will work through how to do examples of those calculation problems in the future. So I hope this was helpful for your April, what is it? April 7th YouTube video. You guys will have an assignment tomorrow. It's a simple Google assignment. So a Google Doc will be shared with you and directions will be on there for what you need to do. And then I'll be back with you guys on the 9th to tell you how to do your lever lab. Stay safe.
Do 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 science. Do 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 science. Do 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 science. Do 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 science. Do 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 science. Do 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 science.